2.7 billion people can't eat now, and you're telling people reduce your consumption. How does this sound to a child who hasn't eaten in days? You got to clue into this, guys. You got to clue into this. Otherwise, this movement will have no legs in the third world. No legs. Later, I'd like to tell you about the International People's Assembly, a network of 200 political organizations that we're setting up, rooted in the global south. We want to tell you what our issues are, but are you willing to listen?
Thank you, Vijay.
Welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ, but this is Nick and CJ Weekends. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's poppin', my friends, my family? We are back. Another episode of RBN Live Saturdays. I host a Saturday time slot, but whenever CJ's down to join, it's always good. So I think it's Nick and CJ Saturdays now. Weekends. It's good. It's good. I'm glad you guys are here to join us. And the clip that you heard from VJ is exactly why. And I learned this by educating myself, becoming more of an anti-imperialist, actually studying geopolitical conflicts and relations, actually understanding the climate struggle. That clip you hear from VJ is exactly why the liberal establishment, the Western chauvinists, will always be weak on the issue of climate. And it will never be able to reach the third world because you have the Democratic Party and liberals and rich liberals who claim they care about climate, but they address climate without the class struggle. Let me repeat that. The liberal establishment, social democrats, they approach the climate crisis without class struggle. And I was guilty of this at one point as well before I educated myself, because one of the first organizations I ever volunteered for was Casey Sunrise. And now we all know the Sunrise movement is garbage. Garbage. It's a democratic front operation where the mindset of these progressive climate activists is to wag their finger at developing countries. Wag their finger at China, for example. Instead of acknowledging the fact that the biggest polluter on the planet is the military-industrial complex. Do you guys know the top 1% is responsible for 70% of the global emissions? So why is the liberal climate activism movement spending their time wagging their finger at the global south, who had nothing to do with the climate crisis? And people understand why they are upset. So the West, I'll pass to you, CJ, but the West, through the industrial era, is responsible for all the carbon emissions. And the rich continue to consume. They continue to get richer, and they don't monitor and limit the spending of the military-industrial complex and the capitalist class. But they will look at you and say, stop using straws. Maybe you should go vegan. Maybe you should. But the working class, the global working class, we must make sacrifices as they continue to fund the military-industrial complex year after year. Now you guys know why the Democratic Party struggled to get people on board with their fake climate initiative. People are turned off on this climate debate, which I think is serious. There's a reason why I chose that as that what got me really into on the streets and activism, worrying about my future, the future of my niece. But as someone who gained more revolutionary discipline, looking at the United States, the left in the United States jeopardized the climate justice movement. Now it's too late because you guys the left in the United States wanted to stand behind Jim Crow Joe and Hillary Clinton. The only thing we can hope for now is climate justice. Going after the people who lied to us. You know, the corporations, the big oil and gas industries that know that they lied to us. And let me show you guys something. And I'm sorry, I'll pass to you, CJ, on this. You see this all the time with the Democratic Party and the fake liberal climate activists who are just imperialists. They are just imperialists, and they use climate change and they use the effort to shift over to green energy as a way to justify their imperialism. We are hostile to China because China is a giant global mission. These Democrats spend all the time. Oh my gosh, why should we get our emissions under control when China is polluting the entire world? So you guys know. Remember what I told you guys, CJ? Take anything the West says and assume it's the exact opposite, and you'll be just fine in life. Let me show you guys something real quick. And this is something you will never hear on these Western chauvinists, these liberals, even the Democrat socialists. I see them repeat China fear-mongering over this. China, with their central planning model and their society, has been one of the few global powers who actually took this seriously. China's CO2 emissions see longest sustained drop in a decade. China is set to significantly overachieve its 2030 goals. In the United States, you see, you guys know I got receipts for days. I could easily keep going, but for sake of time, I'll just grab a few. The United States, with 4% of the world's population, contributed to 25% of the global CO2 emissions. China has 18% of the world's population, only contributed 13%. But the Democratic Party and liberals, they constantly repeat, make China pay. Why should we sacrifice when China? No, it's us in our ruling class. And my last thought on this, before you guys tell people to make sacrifices, I am not a fan of that. Until we reduce the military-industrial complex, until we eat the rich, Taylor Swift, and I use her as an example, not to pick on her, but I saw this headline because conservatives don't like Taylor Swift, so they were trying to get her in a Got You, which was a good Got You, to be fair.
Conservatives don't like her? But she sings country music.
She's like one of the celebrity liberal people. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So like any celebrities any celebrities that were like, I don't know Taylor Swift that much, but I just know they hate her. Like, and I'm assuming it's because that she like every 2, 3, 4 years say vote Democrat or something like that. And she also pretend that she cares about climate change. And then they accurately point out, they're like, Taylor Swift, the amount of flights that you take on your private jet is responsible for more carbon emissions than the working class in this country. The rich, with their private jets and their overall consumption with mansions keeping their power, whenever I hear people talk about the climate issues, they talk about personal sacrifices of the working class people, they are deeply unserious, or they just class warriors for the rich. And that is why the climate movement has been so inefficient. You got quote-unquote left groups that repeat the nonsense that come from liberals. Stop drinking straws, eat meat. How about we make no fucking changes until we eat the rich? But anyway,
Nick, right? What you're talking about is typical of the PMCs.
Yes.
It's because of the professional managerial class. We're looking at climate without the class analysis glasses on. It's because they don't have any. You get what I'm saying? So climate activism is just boiled down to straws, recycle. You get what I'm saying? It's your own personal consumption. But I do have a comment about what you said. Climate without class analysis. These climate organizations, and it sounds so familiar to American feminism without class analysis. It sounds like almost exactly the same thing. It's feminism, women, but they really are talking about white women without, because you can't be a feminist and not care about the women in Somalia. You can't be a feminist without caring about the Palestinian women. You see what I'm saying? Like that is so it's such an ability by Western chauvinist countries, and it's an ability to say we're free while at the same time having slaves. It's that ability to have two separate parallel universes almost, where they can speak about something, but it doesn't apply, because you have to understand we're not seen as equal still. That's why what we believe doesn't apply. But anyway, this is just a warm up. We haven't even gotten to the topic yet. So let me do some announcements real quick as you